Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. As part of our coverage of Austin Film Festival's 26th year, I was lucky enough to chat with Guinevere Turner. She's been a writer on the television series The L Word, but is probably best known for her screenplays American Psycho, The Notorious Bettie Page, Go Fish, and most recently, Charlie Says. We talk about her creative collaboration with director Mary Harron, what it's like to write on an adaptation, how her acting experience has influenced her craft, and much more. It's a great interview, and I hope you enjoy. This is Les for the TV Dudes, and I am lucky enough to be here with Guinevere Turner. I still, even in 2019, I tell people that American Psycho was screenplay written by a woman and directed by a woman, and their jaws drop. It seems like such a violent guy movie in some regards, and I think of Bret Easton Ellis as such like the worst popped collar Ivy League drug D-bags that could have ever been put on paper. Can you talk a bit about writing that movie, starting to partner with a director that you find a common language with and want to make more movies with, and kind of moving into that in your career when writing can be such a solitary thing, working on an adaptation and then finding a collaborator that you really like working with. Can you talk a bit about that path?
Yeah, so Mary Harron is that director. We just finished our third film together.
Is that Charlie Says?
Yeah, it came out in May. And we were writing a screenplay about Bettie Page, Pinup Girl. That is a movie that we eventually made called The Notorious Bettie Page. But in the meantime, she was asked to do an adaptation of the novel American Psycho written by Bret Ellis. And she knows me well enough to know that I don't like scary movies. I have a low tolerance for violence on screen in general. Wow. And she was like, "You're going to hate me for making you read this book, but I think we can make a great movie out of it." And so I read it and I said, "Yes, I hate you. And I hate this fucker, Bret Ellis, too." We've since become friends. And, but I saw what she meant. And so we started the process of the adaptation, which and for anyone who's read the book it's a challenge to read that book. It really makes our movie look like a Disney movie. A, and B, it just has all these devices that are really uncinematic, very much inside his head. So it's a big challenge, but we were the sixth team to attempt it.
Oh, wow.
Or team or individual. So Bret Ellis himself had done a draft. One of the producers had done a draft, a couple other writers. And so we also just felt this intense need our competitive streak that we're going to be the ones. We're going to be the ones. And I think it made a difference that, we later laughed. We thought it was a big opportunity, but really they thought the only way we're ever going to get this movie made is if we put the bodies of women on the front lines. Like, well, chicks made it. It can't be offensive. So, I love the movie and many people love the movie. I'm, consistently surprised with how, in my mind, the people that it's making fun of also love it. Which to me is meta accomplishment. No offense to all you people who love it, who are kind of the guys who are in it.
But it feels a little Fight Clubby in that sense of like, are you, or the way that like seeing concert photos of Rage Against the Machine in the 90s or something, and like, are all of y'all getting what they're saying at all? I have had many guys say, well, first of all, they don't believe me. Like, you wrote American Psycho. And I'm like, yeah, chicks. And then it turns out women can write men. It's crazy.
Yeah. And also, like, I would be really insane if I was making that up. Right? Like, that would be a really crazy lie. You can Google it, A. And B, that would just be a really weird lie. I could pick the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Like, I could pick any movie.
Yes.
And then they say like, dude, I am Patrick Bateman, the lead character. And I'm like, okay, first of all, Patrick Bateman's a serial killer.
Don't go yelling that.
Like, he's a loser.
Yeah.
Like in what ways is he identifiable? So it's funny to me in that way. But what's amazing, when the film came out, it didn't get great reviews. In fact, it didn't get good reviews at all. And we were disheartened and, a little, I don't know, just that was a lot of work, and it's not an easy film to figure out. And, you know, Christian's performance is so amazing, and I get killed in it, and we put a lot into that. And, but then, you know, it's 20 years later and people are still talking about it. So slow burn. We just joked because we didn't get great reviews when we premiered at the Venice Film Festival for our most recent film, Charlie Says, and we were kind of low. And then Mary Harron's husband just Googled, and he started reading us lines from reviews of American Psycho. And he said, hey, you guys, like, it's the same thing. Like, it's people will come around and understand it. And I was like, but we're not, like, we don't have another 20 years to finally be misunderstood geniuses. Like, we're getting older.
I could stand to be understood now.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Can you talk a bit about Charlie Says and I find it amazing sometimes when these things kind of come up in the zeitgeist of seeing more Manson stuff of late. He turned up in Mindhunter. He turns up in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now.
American Horror Story.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about what interested you about not telling Charlie's story, but telling the women's story ancillary to, or I mean, really, they're the ones that ended up doing the actions. Can you talk about finding your angle into that, or what interested you about that subject matter, considering, like you said, it doesn't seem like a low tolerance of violence
I know.
project to pick.
I think Patrick Bateman was like a gateway drug, and now I'm just like the go-to serial killer.
Does Mary just do this to you all the time?
No, actually, I did this to her. This time I wrote Charlie Says by myself and then roped her in. So I got her back. I just had a meeting with the producers, and they said they want to, quote unquote, make a movie about the Manson girls. And I mean, I think I literally rolled my eyes and said, why? Like, this is such well-tread territory, and why are we going back here and back here? But then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, I just said, let me read, let me do research. And then finally I found a book that tells the story of them in prison, these 5 years where they were just stuck in this sort of limbo, no longer being sentenced to death, but not allowed to go into the general population. And I just thought, okay, this is interesting, because what happened there is all true. This grad student just started giving them feminist texts, and it's 1972, and these are books that would define the birth of, modern American feminism. And it's just true. She was literally, showing them sisterhood is powerful. And I was like, wow, I couldn't make this up.
Yeah.
And so then I got excited, and then I thought, okay, I can bring something to this, and I can also kind of try to shake up this us and them kind of idea about who joins cults and why, and try to implicate the viewer in, okay, if I was 19 and it was 1968 and drugs everywhere and the Vietnam War and people being assassinated, and Charlie showed up, and I didn't know that he was going to say, later you're going to kill people for me. He just seemed like a big papa guy who was going to be cool. I just want people to see, like, to ask themselves truly, who would you be? And I think that's an important question to ask ourselves now. Like, who are we? What brings us to action? What choices are we making? And how are we of our time? And how will we be blamed by a future generation if we aren't a certain way?
Yeah. That going wrong by degrees and taking several steps that aren't the worst choices, but Charlie's just going to take care of us. He's got good drugs. What do you,
Yeah, it's a place to sleep, and people like
good dope.
People.
What do you want to do? And then it's slow walking you around to just true horror. Is I think everybody's fear is, that maybe I'm making a wrong decision right now, but am I making like the straw that breaks the camel's back wrong decision that's going to mess my life up?
Yeah, that was really what I wanted to highlight in the film as well. To really try to connect people with, could this be me? Is the fact that if you think about, for example, a person in your life that's really important and how you met them, and if you really break that down to why you were in that room, and then what led you to be in that city, and how many micro choices lead you up to the choice that you might not know is the biggest, the choice that you said, no, I don't want to go to that party. I'm going to go to that party. And that's the person you met. That's your life partner, and, or the person who kills you. You know what I mean? It's a little terrifying to me, this very idea of how every micro choice we make could be the biggest, most important choice of our life, which will make me crazy, but I try to let it make me hopeful. And so that's a big part of it for me too, in that movie, is, again, that we're all making a series of choices that we might not know are important or life altering.
A project that I just read a little bit about, so forgive me if I get a detail wrong, but Crazy Bitches.
Yeah.
That looks hysterical. And also I love that that it transformed formats. I'm always interested in watching projects have one scaffolding and become another. And you're in front of the camera in that. Can you talk a bit about that project and working on it?
Well, the writer-director is Jane Clark, and I actually met her at a party, and somebody said, "Oh, you should meet Jane." And we chatted, and she said, "I'm making a movie called Crazy Bitches. That's horror comedy." And I was like, I should really be in that movie. And she just sort of asked people like, "Oh, where is she?" Like, and but then now we're good friends, and so that's just fun because it's a really tricky two genres to mix, horror and comedy, and then to have it can't be all straight genre. You have to have some real emotional sort of beats and connections. So I mean, it was fun for me. I just sort of play a kind of Blanche Dubois who runs through the woods in heels and gets killed pretty early on. Spoiler alert. But what was really fun is that she just decided to turn it into a digital series, and she killed off a lot of us, but we just all got along really well. So she brought us back as different characters.
That's what I'd read. That something was a bit anthology about it. Yeah.
But some of the characters are still the characters that lived in the other one. So I now I come back as a soap star who sort of has anxiety about the up and coming young soap stars. So kind of all about Eve thing, which is super fun. I mean, it's really fun because Jane trusts me to make up my own diva dialogue where I feel I can crank it up a notch, and I do, and that's really fun.
Do you find that time getting to play in front of the camera helps you when you sit back down to write? Absolutely.
I think an actor sensibility helps so much. I teach screenwriting sometimes, and I always say, remember that you're writing a role, even if it's small, that an actor wants to be able to call home and say that they got. I literally spent 20 minutes once in a screenwriting class trying to tell a guy why writing bimbo as the character name wasn't going to work. And he was like, but she is a bimbo. She's like a groupie, and she's like only having sex with this guy. I was like, just don't call her bimbo. And I was like, okay, picture this. Little Ashley, who just got her first job in a movie, calls home and says, "Mom, I got my first job." And does what's this character? And she says, "Bimbo." Always have that frame, and then think about what Ashley wants to say to her mom, and just call her a name.
Any name.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd never considered that, but yes, even the smallest role, this is somebody's big break.
Yeah.
And they want to call home. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today about all this. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
I'm having a great time at the Austin Film Festival, by the way.
Yes, this is a wonderful fest. I live in Austin, so I am always torn between advocating that anybody come to this town, like you don't move here. But it's a wonderful city, and this is one of my favorite fests. The panels are always stunning. I didn't realize I was spoiled until I went to another film fest unrelated to this, and it was just movies.
Yeah, like where's the people?
It's like, talking? But I want a panel about how it works, and I didn't realize that how spoiled I'd gotten on AFF's amazing panels and such.
Yeah, a great time. I've had great times being on the panels and watching panels too. Yeah, there's nothing like it in my worldwide experience of film festivals in terms of nurturing, loving, and feeding writers.
Well, thank you so much.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.